Welcome. Today we're going to do a flow that's going to have a little bit of focus on the core. So start lying down in Baddha Konasana, the soles of the feet together, knees apart, and watch your breath. Watch your inhales and your exhales. So I remember when core power yoga first started to become popular, someone called the yoga studio I was working at and asked, "Do you guys work the core at your yoga studio?" And I thought it was kind of funny because really if you're doing the postures properly, then your core will be exercised in all the postures. Just to stand up straight requires core strength. So this class will give you some awareness into how to engage those muscles so that you can use them throughout your standing postures and all the poses in yoga. So as you continue to lie here, let your body relax. We want to enter the practice from this relaxed, focused place, watching the inhales and the exhales. Then bring your knees together and plant your feet flat on the floor. Take your arms up. We're already going to start with some awareness. As you go to take your arms overhead, if you don't do anything in your middle, your front bottom ribs are going to lift up towards your chest with your arms, but instead I want you to hug them back down towards your frontal hip points. It's going to limit how much you can stretch your arms. So that's one way. Bring your arms back to your side. Bring your knees up from a lift of your pelvic floor, as if you're pulling energy up from your pelvic floor up into the crown of your head. Do that and then hug in on the front and the back of your low spine. Both legs come up in the table, both arms go straight up. Now, without letting your hips twist at all, send your right leg forward and lower it an inch above the mat. Bring it back up. Try the left side. Send your left leg forward, lower till it's an inch above the mat. Keep your belly in and bring it back up. Try not to let yourself wiggle from side to side. Repeat with the right leg, send it forward, lower it down. The whole time, imagine you're being pulled from the top of your head, from your tail and your tailbone in two opposite directions. You're trying not to tense your shoulders or your neck. Keep going, side to side. This time, let's add the arm. As the right leg goes forward, send your left arm back. Try not to twist. Bring it back together. Send your left leg forward and lower it. Take your right arm back. Stay really controlled in your middle. It's like a brick in your middle. And when I say middle, I'm talking about like the hip bones to the ribs on the front and the back. Good. Keep going side to side. Right leg goes, left leg goes. Opposite arm leg stretch. Now keep your legs in tabletop position. Pause. Bring your fingers behind your ears and lift your chest up towards your knees. Try not to crank your neck. Keep your neck long. Turn your chest to your right knee. Send your left leg forward and lower till it's an inch above the mat. Then bring it back up, knees together. Lift your chest to your left knee. Send your right leg forward, just as controlled as we were practicing. Bring it back up. Hold in the middle. Keep doing this from side to side. And in class, I always say, like, you want to keep your non-extending shin really even, as if someone put a cup of hot coffee on there and you don't want it to spill side to side. And this is the really hot McDonald's coffee that burned that lady. So you don't want that. It's really going to be really hot. Be careful. Keep going side to side. Keep your shin even to the floor. Try not to let it spill from side to side. You should feel this movement coming from your middle. So feel it's your middle that's lifting and twisting. You're not straining in your neck. The shoulders are released out of the ears. The elbows are wide. It's not like you're trying to touch your elbow to your knee, although that is one technique. We're not using that now. Keep your hips totally steady. Keep going. Now hold in the middle. Crunch up, straighten your legs, and lower your legs just halfway. Keep your abs engaged. So I do an extra crunch. I exhale all the air out, and I squeeze the side ribs down towards the hips. The whole rib cage is pulling down. The navel is in. Take the right leg up, and now bring your left hand to the outside of your right leg. Right hand stays behind your head. Neck is long, shoulders out of your ears. Now lower the right leg slowly to meet the left, and then bring it back up. Inhale, lower your right leg, straight as you can. Bring it back up. Come back to center. Change legs. Left leg goes straight up, right leg stretches out. Bring your right hand to the outside of the left leg and lower it slow. Exhale it back up. Inhale, lower your leg slow and controlled. Exhale, bring it back up. Come back to center. Bring your chest back to center with legs straight. Now lift your tailbone up off the floor, but try to keep your legs perpendicular to the floor. Don't let them come any closer to your face. Squeeze, lift, hold. Okay, now lower back down and hug your knees into your chest. Just take a few breaths here. Now bring your arms to your side. Let's do a little twist. Let the knees drop over to the right, but try to keep your left shoulder grounded. Look to your left. Then turn, bring your knees back to center from the muscles of your middle, pulling your legs back to center, and let the legs fall over to the left. So specifically to make that turn, you're using your obliques. It's the feeling like someone to come back to center in a moment. But for now, let your right shoulder drop. Just relax, breathe. And then it's the feeling as if someone grabbed you on the left side of your belly and started to pull to the right. Use your twister muscles to come back. Hug your knees to your chest. Come up onto your hands and your knees. Place your hands under your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Curl your toes under and lift your knees just an inch like you didn't go into down dog, but don't just yet. So hold this just like tabletop position like we practiced. Engage your middle. Lengthen like you're being pulled in two opposite directions from your crown to your tail. And then gradually start to straighten your legs and move your hips back away from your wrist without losing that awareness of your middle. So you could see if you do downward dog properly, it's that same work in your middle when you're lying on your back. So in all these postures, we are, in essence, working the core. Keep your hands pressed down, flat and even into your mat. Outer arms hug in. Okay, now inhale into plank position. In plank pose, you want your shoulders to stack over your wrists. The toe mounds root into the mat and the inner legs lift as you firm your buttocks to your heels, draw your navel in and pull your heart forward. Hold here, a few more breaths. Try not to lock your elbows. So make sure if you look at your elbows that they're not locked in. Maybe even just a micro bend in your elbows. Hold strong. Now roll to the outer edge of your left foot and take your right arm up. Side plank Vashisthasana. If you look down at your left hand, the alignment for this pose should be that the base of your left wrist lines up with the top of your shoulder. Try to recreate plank position here. So the inner thighs draw back, the buttocks firms towards the heels, and the chest lifts. Come back to plank, hold steady. And then go right to the other side. Roll to the outer edge of your right foot and take your left arm up. If this is hard on your wrist, you could always do this on your forearms. Make sure you haven't locked the bottom hand elbow. You're trying to press into the hand and lift up through the wrist, just like we practiced in the handstand video. Whenever you're on your hands, you want to think not sinking into the hands, but lifting up. Come back to plank position. And now bring your right knee up to your chest. Let's do one little thing to wake up the core again. As you inhale, tap your knee to the floor and pull your heart forward. And as you exhale, squeeze your knee up to your chest. Inhale, the knee taps, just hovers above the floor. And then exhale, pull it back up to your chest, staying in plank. Inhale, tap your knee. Exhale, pull it up. Inhale, tap your knee. Exhale, pull it up. Lift it up higher. Send it back into one-legged plank. Hover the foot above the floor and lengthen. Then set your toes down. Bring your left knee up to your chest in plank. Stay in plank the whole time. Bring your knee up, squeeze. Inhale, tap your knee, heart forward. Exhale, squeeze your knee up to your chest. Inhale, tap your knee, heart forward. Exhale, squeeze your knee up to your chest. Inhale, tap your knee. Exhale, pull it up, round out. Inhale, flat back, knee lowers. Exhale, pull it up. Then send it back into one-legged plank. Right leg straight. Good, lower your left foot. Shift forward and lower to Chaturanga. Squeeze your elbows in and hold. Good, then lower to your belly. Come into baby cobra. So real gradually coming into our back bends. You want to keep some memory of your abdominals working. So as you press your pinky toes down, tighten your kneecaps and lift up on your inner thighs. Lift the skin of the low abdomen up off the mat. So your bandhas are engaged, your middle is awake. Hug your elbows in without tensing your neck and lift your shoulder tips. Lift your heart, press the back of your head back. Maintain that, blades on your back as you come into up dog, inhale. Straight arms, chest lifts, downward facing dog, exhale. So adjust your dog, hands go shoulder width, feet go hip width. In down dog, you're basically trying to create an inverted V shape. Now look in between your hands and walk your feet to the front of your mat. With your feet hip distance apart for this first forward fold, put a little bend in your knees and grab a hold of your elbows. So the back body line goes from the bottom of the foot all the way up the back body to the head. And if there's some tension in your back body line, you don't want to really force a deep stretch at the beginning of class. You want to gradually come into your forward fold. So in this first forward fold, I always recommend just having your knees bent and holding your elbows. And take this time to reconnect to your breath. Watch your inhales and your exhales. Slow the breath through the nose. Okay, now with your fingertips down, bend your knees and sit your butt back almost in line with your knees. Squat down low, interlace your fingers behind your back and rest your thumbs on your sacrum. That's just right above your tailbone. Now squeeze your elbows towards each other without tensing your neck, and then try to straighten your arms without your neck tensing. Bring the weight into your right foot and step your left leg smooth back into a lunge, but you're using control of your middle. This is just like what we were doing on the floor when you're extending one leg out at a time. Control the movement from your middle. Now stretch your fingertips straight back, so release the bind and hold here. So if you look up at the screen, you'll notice that I try to create a straight line from my ankle all the way to the crown of my head. That's important. Lower your left fingertips now and take your right arm up. So when you twist, try not to turn your hips at all. Turn the ribs, turn the chest, turn from above your navel. Then bring your right fingertips back down. Lower your back knee, point the toes back. Bring your hands to your right knee and upright your chest. So as you hold in this posture, we're going to open up the front of the hip. Press the left shin down, lift up on your belly, and then take your arms up overhead. And as you press that left shin down, think of rolling the left inner thigh back, firm the buttock towards the back of the knee, and lift up through the front of your pelvis. Bring your fingertips back to the mat now, curl your back toes under, lift your back knee, and then step forward without the hips swinging to side. Sit back like you're sitting into chair pose, sit real deep, interlace the fingers behind the back, other index finger on top, and hug your elbows toward each other, elbows bent. Now try to straighten out your arms, still keeping the triceps squeezed in towards each other without tensing your neck. Neck long, side chest moves forward, hold here, opening up the chest, the shoulders. Bring the weight over into your left foot without the hips tipping over to the side. Keep your hips compact as you step your right foot back into a lunge. Root down into the toe mounds on the right foot, lift the inner thigh, and now as you lift up in your middle and your low abs, pull your side chest forward. The shoulder blades are in the back, the shoulder tips, collarbones are broad. Now, without twisting your hips, turn your ribs and your chest to the left, lower your right fingertips, and take your left arm up. Try to encourage a long line from your back heel as if you're pushing into a wall, all the way out to the top of your head. Spread your arms, break up the tension in your shoulders and your chest through the reach of your arms. Then bring your left fingertips back to the mat. Lower your back knee, point the toes back. Bring your hands to your left knee and start to upright your chest. So I press down into the right shin, even though it doesn't really touch the floor, I energetically press down and turn the right inner thigh back as you firm your right buttock towards the back of your knee. Then lift your pubic bone up towards your navel and lift your side chest through the reach of your arms. Reach past your fingers. Bring your fingertips back to the mat, curl your back toes under and lift your back knee. Squeeze your left hip in as you step your right leg forward. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale into chair pose. Bend your knees, sit your hips back, but in this chair, just take your arms forward and pretend like you're holding a block in between your hands or a brick. Firm your outer arms. Hug the triceps without tensing the shoulders around the ears. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Now lift your arms up, but keep your navel in. Try not to let your belly push out as your arms go up. That's what's going to want to happen. Keep the control of your frontal bottom ribs. Keep them hugged towards your hip bones. Good, now come up another inch, and then come all the way up to stand. Press into your heels, raise your arms, bring your hands to your heart. So just stand for a moment and feel that heat that you created in your body. You might feel like the hips are a little more open, like your shoulders are open, the chest is open. You feel energized, but still ready for more. Drop the arms to the side. Inhale your arms out to the sides. Externally rotate and reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, create a flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Plant your hands and step your legs back one at a time to plank position. Lower slow to Chaturanga, elbows in. Flip your toes back one at a time. Inhale into upward facing dog. Plug your shoulder blades in and lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. So these sun salutations are like a dance with the breath. Every pose gets a breath. Every breath gets a pose. Bend your knees, look in between your hands. Step or hop to the front of your mat as you inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold all the air out. Press into your feet. Inhale, come all the way up. Circle the arms up and overhead. Exhale, drop the arms to your side. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, create a flat back, lengthen. Keep your heart forward as you try to plant your hands down. Then step or jump back to Chaturanga. Inhale into up dog. Reach back through your toes and lift your inner thighs as you lift your belly. Exhale, downward facing dog. Press down into the inner hand, but lift up on the inner arm and move your hips further from your wrists. Try to keep your front bottom ribs in as you do that. Don't let them sink. So what we practice with our core work. From down dog, shift into plank position. Bring your right knee up to your chest and then step your right foot close to your right thumb. Inhale, come up for crescent. So just a couple of A's today. A little shorter practice. In Crescent Pose, we're going to work on that same length in the front of the left hip that we practiced in the low lunge. So lift up on your back inner thigh. Firm your buttock towards your heel, and then lift your pubic bone up towards your navel. Lift with the tricep side of the arm, the pinky fingers, but make sure that your shoulders don't rise up along your ears when you stretch your arms. Bring your fingertips back to the mat. Step your back foot about an inch closer, and turn the back heel down. Squeeze your right hip in, and then stretch your arms up and overhead. You want to keep your right outer hip firmed in so it looks like your center hip is aligned with your ankle. Bring your hands back to the mat, step to plank position. Shift forward and lower to Chaturanga. Squeeze your belly, lift straight back up to plank. Downward facing dog. Shift into plank and bring your left knee up to your chest. Round your back, pull up high, step your left foot close to your left thumb. Then inhale for crescent. So squeeze in on your outer hips as you come up. That will help you to activate your bandhas, your core. You'll feel that you can lift energy up through your pelvic floor. That helps you to lengthen and stand tall. And when your pelvic floor engages, it should help the transverse abdominis to engage, which is the muscles surrounding your low spine. Not just like your 8-pack, that's a different set of muscles. These are deeper muscles that surround your whole spine. So you should feel a sandwich in from the front and the back. Then bring your fingertips back down. Set up your back heel an inch closer, turns down. Firm your left hip in and reach your arms up for warrior one. Inhale. And exhale, bring your hands back to the mat. Quick breath. Lower to Chaturanga. Press straight back up. Downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Feet go hip width. Look back at your feet and hide your inner heels behind you. So turn the heels out until your inner heels are hiding. Then look in between your hands, bend your knees, jump or step lightly to the front of your mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose. Bend your knees and sit back. Root into the heels and let the inner thighs release down, the groins release down. Lift up with your arms though. Then press to stand. Bring your hands to your side. Sun Salutation B. Inhale into chair pose. Exhale, fold forward as you straighten your legs out. Inhale to create a flat back. Lengthen, pull your heart forward. Keep it forward as you step or jump back to Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Inner thighs up, buttocks to the heels. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot for warrior one. Turn the back heel down. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your left foot, turn your back heel down. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. So if you're watching the video, you'll notice that I actually push up to plank sometimes instead of going into that extra upward facing dog through the salutation. I do that because I had a lower back injury from surfing, and too much upward facing dog will make the back start to get a little compromised in the low back. So if you need to do that, that's fine. Bend your knees, step or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale into chair and then press to stand. Inhale into chair pose. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen. Step or jump back lightly to chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot, warrior one. Inhale, come up, reach your arms up. Bring your hands back, step back to chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your left foot, warrior one. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Hold in your down dog. Work on your roots, your hands, how they're pressing down. Feel your toe mounds, the pinky to the big toe. Now bend your knees, look in between your hands, step or jump to the front of the mat, and inhale, lengthen. Ardha. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale into chair pose, bend your knees, sit your hips back. Press to stand, drop your arms to your side. One more time, inhale into chair pose. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot, warrior one. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale to chaturanga, plant the hands, shift forward and lower down, the elbows stack over the wrists. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to down dog. Step your left foot, warrior one. Reach your arms. Exhale your hands back to the mat. Step back to chaturanga. Remember, elbows right over the wrist and elbows hug in. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Hold in your down dog. Steady your breath. So those sun salutations will create a lot of heat in the body. You want to balance it out here as you hold in downward facing dog. The inner thighs move back. The whole femur bone shifts back, especially from the top of the thigh. Bend your knees, look in between your hands, step or jump lightly to the front of your mat. And as you inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose. Bend your knees and sit back. Hold this chair, 5 breaths. Bring the weight back into the front of the heel. Let the top thighs descend, but then draw your navel in and up as you stretch your arms. Plug your shoulder blades in and move your arm bones back in line with your ears, but try not to let your ribs flare on the front. 2 more breaths here. Now let's add a little arm stretch. So externally rotate your arms and bring your fingertips right to the inner shoulder blade. Encourage the inner shoulder blade to release down as the elbows lift. Good, then press to stand, stretch your arms up and drop your arms to your side. Step your right leg back for standing postures. Parallel your feet and spread your arms out. Your feet should be about 4.5 feet apart. Now turn your left foot in slightly and turn your right leg all the way out. Bring your hands to your hips just to notice what your hips do. As you anchor your back heel, lift your right side low abs and bend your right leg. Bend your right leg towards 90 degrees and make sure that your right leg knee points straight ahead, is tracking over your ankle. Lift your arms up to shoulder height and broaden your chest to the reach of your arms. So in this posture, you want to allow your hips to turn slightly towards your bent leg knee, towards your right knee. And if you look down at the right leg, you should see that the center ankle, the center knee, and the center hip are all in the same line. Now lunge a little bit deeper. Bring your hands to your hips. Now straighten your right leg. Tip your pelvis over your right thigh. Keep your spine long as you do that. Put your right hand down on your shin, or if you're using a block, you can use that. If you're very flexible and you're able to tip your pelvis so much that you can put your fingertips on the floor, you're welcome to do that. Now put your left hand on your hip and turn your chest up to the ceiling. Plug your left shoulder blade in, press it in, and open your chest. Then take your left arm up. This is triangle pose, Uttita Trikonasana. Press down into your right big toe mound because it tends to become light, but then firm your outer right hip into the midline. As you do that, root into your back leg and move your left thigh back like a Tadasana leg. The buttocks goes towards the heel on the left leg, and you're lifting your side chest and getting length through your side body. Side chest moves away from the hips, collarbones are spread. Now bring your left hand back to your hip, look down, bend your right leg, slide your hand a foot in front of your pinky toe, and step up into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Keep your left hand on your hip, find the same action as triangle, press into the inner right foot, squeeze the right hip in. Now roll the left shoulder back and open the chest. Find that length of the side chest away from the hips, and then complete the pose. The arm goes up, and you're trying to lift your back leg up until it matches the angle of your torso. So if you're on a block, it won't go up so high. But see, I'm trying to make that line so it follows the line of my spine, basically. Engage your right quadricep, but make sure that your right hip is stacked over your ankle the whole time if you look down on it. Hold here and steady your breath. It's a very powerful pose. Watch the inhales and the exhales. Then look back down and bend your right leg halfway. As smooth as you can, step back into triangle pose. Find your triangle, press down into your feet, and inhale, come back up. Good, hold here, parallel the feet. Now turn the legs for the other side. So turn your right foot in slightly and turn the left leg all the way out. Hands on the hips, bend the left leg towards 90 degrees. Keep a lift on your low abdomen as you bend the legs. So it's the same core idea that we practiced. So you keep that integrity of your middle. You don't want to be spilling out in your belly. As you press your back heel, lift up on the left front hip bone, on the left side low abdomen, and then let your left inner leg release, groin towards the knee. Bend your knee deeper, knee tracking over the ankle, and squeeze your left hip in as you lift your side chest. Now hands to the hips again, straighten the left leg. Look down at your left foot. Tip your pelvis over your thigh. If you're having difficulty, you're like, how is he doing that with the pelvis tipping? I allow my pelvis to turn slightly towards my left foot so that it can tip over. If you don't allow that, it's going to get jammed. This will start to mess up your hips if you try to square your hips in these poses. With your right hand on your hip, press your right shoulder blade in, turn your chest, then take your right arm up. Uttita Trikonasana, triangle pose. Press into the left big toe mound and firm your left hip in. And then start to move your inner right thigh back, but balance it out by moving the right buttock towards the heel. Move your side chest away from your hips. Now look down, right hand on your hip, bend your left knee and slide your left hand a foot in front of your pinky toe as smooth as you can. Step up to balance. Bring some weight into the inner left foot. You tend to go to the outer foot here to balance, but instead press more into the inner foot and squeeze the left hip in. Open your chest, then take the right arm up. Lift your back leg from the inner upper thigh and reach through the heel. Send energy past your heel. Try to lift that leg up till it matches the angle of your torso, the line of your spine. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Breathe even. Now bend your left leg and as smooth as you can, step back into triangle pose. Find the pose. Press down into your feet and inhale, come back up. Good. Now step to the front of your mat. Tadasana, mountain pose. Feel for a moment the effects of those postures. Then bring your hands to your hips, sit back into chair pose. So those were some externally rotated poses, and we're going to use some different muscle groups now. So bend your right, with your chair pose, lift your right knee, cross it up and over your left, and then cross your right elbow under your left for Garudasana Eagle. So in the last poses, we were using the external rotators in the hip, and we were trying to lengthen the inner legs and squeeze in the outer hips to make them open. But now in this posture, squeeze in on your thighs. Feel your legs hug in towards the midline. Then feel the navel draw in and up. And start to take your elbows forward and up without your upper traps tensing. Uncross your right leg. Now lean your chest out over your knees. Hold here in a flat back. Pick up your left heel and then send that left leg back into Warrior 3 with the arms bound. A little tricky Warrior 3. Try to level out your hips. Make sure your right hip stacks over your ankle. Now let's add a chest opener. So stretch the arms back behind you, broaden across your chest, the blades on the back. And as you lift your left leg up from the inner thigh, move the buttock towards your heel. Remember that work of your abdomen when you're on the floor, how it controlled how the legs stretched, but it's not so strong to where you can't breathe. Still let your breath flow evenly. Then slowly come up to stand, lead with your chest. Bring your hands to your side, Tadasana. Hands back to your hips, sit back into chair pose. Pick up your left knee and cross it over your right. Cross your left elbow under your right. Wrap up the arms. Garudasana Eagle. So again, in this pose, squeeze in with your legs. Feel that lift that squeezing in creates. Start to take the elbows forward and up without tensing your upper traps, those muscles right at the base of your neck on your back. Good, then uncross your legs, start to tip your chest forward. Bring your right heel up to your buttock, and keeping your navel in, send your right leg back behind you. Your belly will want to fall, and you'll want to dip into your lower back. But try to keep your navel in, your front bottom ribs in. Lengthen, now stretch your arms back behind you. Open your chest. Make your whole body parallel to the floor. One long line from your back heel to the crown of your head. Steady your breath, focus your gaze on one point. Make sure the hips aren't opened up to the side. Level the hips to the floor. Now slowly come up to stand. Lead with your chest. Inhale your arms up, chair pose. Lower your buttocks to the floor. Let's do some more abs. Come right into boat pose. So in boat pose, try not to be sinking back. Lift and lengthen. Lift your side chest. Keep that length and maybe try to straighten your knees out. Straighten your legs. Then, if your legs are straight, rebend them and lower down so you're in tabletop position. The fingers come behind the head. And lift your chest without cranking. The fingers just let the neck relax. Send your left leg forward and straighten it out. Then send your right leg out to meet it. Feet about 2 feet up off the mat. But keep your abs hugged in. If you look at your belly and it's pulling way up, your abs are going to get stuck like that. No, not really. But you're encouraging the abdominals to kind of puff. So instead, hug the navel in. All right, now lower your head and we're going to work on leg lifts. Take your leg straight up and just lower the right leg till it's a couple inches above the mat. Bring it back up from your belly. Lower your left leg till it's just a couple inches from the mat, and then bring it back up using your belly. Let's keep going side to side. Right leg down, back up. Left leg down, back up. But the whole time, it's like your torso is undisturbed. The arms are planting to activate the muscles in your upper back. The navel stays in, and you're trying not to wiggle from side to side. You're lengthening your spine out along the mat. The neck stays long, chest open. Now let's try both legs. So with the legs together, lower the legs, about halfway, a little bit lower, and then back up. Again, lower your legs halfway, pause there, hug your navel in. Lower your legs a couple more inches, pause. A couple more inches, pause. A couple more inches, pause. And then bring the legs all the way back up. Lower the legs halfway. Lower 2 more inches. Lower another inch. Lower another inch. Keep hugging in from the front and the back on the spine. See how low you can lower your legs before your belly lifts. Then as you exhale, pull your legs back up. Good. Hug your knees back into your chest. Come up to seated. And now come into Malasana. Feet go outer hips distance apart. Stay in Malasana, or let's work on an arm balance. Crow pose. So the hands plant down, and you're going to start to squeeze your knees way up high towards your armpits. Lean forward into your arms. Bend the elbows like in chaturanga, and then maybe you could lift your toes up 1 at a time, or 2 toes at a time. Feet, and bring the heels up to the butt. Good. Then step or jump back. Take a vinyasa, or just go right back to downward facing dog. Hold in down dog, stretch it out. All right, now right back to it. Shift into plank position. Bring your right knee up to your chest. And now without your shoulders twisting, turn your hips to the left. And as you exhale, bring your knee up. Inhale, lower it down towards the floor. Exhale, pull your knee up. Inhale, lower it down to the floor. Exhale, squeeze in your middle, pull your knee up. Then bring it back to center, lift it higher, send it back. Let's do it on the other side. Pull your left knee up to your chest. Without your shoulders twisting, turn your hips to the right, just an inch or 2. Then as you inhale, lower your knee. Exhale, squeeze in your middle to pull it back up. Inhale, your knee down. Exhale, squeeze in your middle to pull it back up. Inhale, lower your knee. Exhale, squeeze, pull it back up, back to center, and stretch your leg out. Pull your right knee up to your chest and step your right foot close to your right thumb so you're in a lunge. Step your back foot a little bit closer and turn the heel down, just like 4 inches closer. Parsvottanasana. Fold forward over your straight right leg. The right big toe mound roots. The outer edge of the back heel is anchored, but hug your right hip in. Now hands to your hips. Inhale, come on up. Reach your left arm up overhead. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Lower your fingertips to the outside of your foot. Turn your chest up and take your right arm up. Now pretend like I drew a line. If you're using a mat, right down the middle of your mat, and you want to try to lengthen your spine right along that line. Notice if you're rounding. Try not to round in this posture. Press your right big toe mound down. Squeeze your right hip in. As you press into your back heel, lengthen. Now stay here. Let's take it up to balance. Slide your left hand a foot in front of your foot, now on the inside, and lift your left leg up to hip height. Parvrita Ardha Chandrasana, twisted or revolved half moon. Try to create a long line from your back heel out through the crown of your head, and your hips stay even as you turn from above your navel. The ribs, the chest turn, arms spread. Then lower your right fingertips. Pause here, keep your left leg up. Now, if you had not gone to the balancing pose, now balance, lift your left leg up from the inner thigh, standing splits. Lower it back down, step back into a lunge, step back to plank. Press back to downward facing dog. Shift forward and bring your left knee to your chest and step your left foot to your left thumb. Step your back foot a little bit closer and then straighten out your left leg to the best of your ability. So your back foot goes about 4, maybe 6 inches closer. The heel turns down like a warrior 1 back leg, folding forward over your leg. Now bring your hands to your hips, press into your feet, and inhale, come all the way up. Inhale your right arm up overhead. Exhale, fold forward halfway. Maintain a flat back. Then lower your fingertips. Turn your chest. Lengthen your spine out along that imaginary line that's down your mat. Then take your left arm up. So most important in the twist is actually the length. So before you become interested in how much you're twisting, first find the length of your spine, as much length like a neutral spine, like a Tadasana spine. Your left big toe mound roots into the mat. Firm your left hip in as you press into your back heel, lengthen from tailbone to crown. Then turn your chest. Stay here or step up to balance. Slide your right hand a foot in front of your foot on the inside. Lift your right leg up to hip height. Turn your chest. Try to find length from your back heel out through the top of your head. Pretend someone was pulling you from the top of your head, kind of like a puppet being pulled on a string or held on a string. Try not to let the hips twist as you continue to encourage the ribs and the chest to turn. Lower your left hand, take your right leg up from the inner thigh, lift it up, inhale. Exhale, this time lower your right leg to meet your left and fold forward. Step your right leg back into a lunge. Then step back to plank position. Come into plank on your elbows. So right where your wrists were, lower your elbows down now. Try to take your hands shoulder width apart, elbows in under your shoulders, feet hip distance apart. Now walk into down dog on your elbows. So walk your feet in so you recreate an inverted V shape. Try to keep your elbows hugged in. Turn your triceps in. Externally rotate your arms. Spin your biceps out. Now don't let your upper back round. Like pretend like I got my knee in your upper back. Your navel hugs in. Take your right leg up from the inner thigh, but without the hips twisting. Both sides of the navel to the spine. Lower that leg, and now lift the left leg up from the inner thigh. Hold it as straight as you can. Don't let your back round. Lower your left leg back down, walk back to plank on your forearms and hold there. Good job. Lower your knees down. Now you're ready to practice an inversion. So if you're newer to inversions, just practice that last posture we just did. Down dog on your elbows. Otherwise, I'm going to take this opportunity to work on my handstand. And if you're like, oh, how do I do a handstand? There is a video on how to do handstands. So you can kind of pause this one and go to the handstand video. Or if you've already got a handstand practice, work on your handstand. So in this sequence, you should feel pretty warmed up for a handstand at this point. If you're not working on handstand, you're just working on that down dog on your forearms that we just did. And do another round. Lift your right leg up. Try to hold it. Change legs, lift your left leg up. Try to hold it. All right, wherever you're at, handstand or forearm balance or down dog on your forearms, let's take a child's pose. So now everybody come onto your mat and come into Dandasana. Sit with your legs stretched out in front of you and lengthen. Let your neck release by pulling up. So lengthen your spine and reach through your heels. Then bring your hands just about a foot behind you. Turn the index finger so it points straight ahead. Bend your knees, plant your feet on the floor. Bend your elbows and turn the triceps toward each other. Spin the upper inner arms out. Press into your heels and lift your hips up. Now pause here. Release your groins, your upper inner thighs down, and squeeze the backs of your legs. Firm your buttocks to your heels and then lift your hips up. Roll your shoulders back, lift your chest, squeeze your buttocks to the backs of your knees and lift. Make sure that your groins don't thrust up. Your inner thighs, you want to keep them released towards the floor, but squeeze and lift your butt. Good, then lower your buttock back down. This is a great stretch to open up your chest and to strengthen your back body. Let's try it another time. With a little bend in your elbows, turn your triceps, firm your outer arms toward each other, then press your heels and squeeze the backs of your legs. Your hamstrings engaged. Lift your butt up and try to make yourself flat like a table. Lift the hips, roll the shoulders back, lift the chest and lengthen. Lengthen your neck from your knees to your shoulders. You're a long line. Good, then lower your hips back down to the mat. So that's a great stretch to open up the shoulders for some back bends. Step back to downward facing dog. Shift forward to plank. Lower to chaturanga and then lower to your belly. Put your arms, thumbs on your top buttock. Forehead on the mat. Now lift your legs and lift your chest up. So when your legs internally rotate, you're using your thumbs to encourage the buttocks out of the lower back. Then interlace your fingers and rest the thumbs on the tailbone, just like we practiced earlier. Turn your triceps in toward each other and lift your shoulder tips. Lift your heart. Then start to stretch your knuckles back without tensing at the base of your neck or without narrowing at the top of your chest. You want to keep your chest broad as you hold here. The toes are hovering an inch above the mat. You're up, your navel is pulled up. Then lower back down. Rest one cheek on the mat. Let's try that again. Interlace your hands, the other index finger on top. Bend your elbows at first and hug your triceps towards each other. Lift your legs up an inch, but keep the skin of your belly pulled up. Now stay here, or bend the knees and reach back for your feet or ankles. It's the same work of your arms. The triceps turn in, the top chest is broad. If you're holding your ankles, start to lift with your big toes up to the ceiling, and then move your shins back, like someone pulled your shins back. Lift your side chest. Make sure that your belly isn't falling on the mat. So there is that awareness of your core. Keep your low abs pulled up so you don't get crunchy in your lower back. Now release your legs, straighten them. Stay up. Shalabhasana. Bring your hands under your elbows next to your bottom ribs. Press into up dog. Your biggest up dog. Roll your chest up. Then move back to downward facing dog. Stretch it out in dog pose. From dog, look in between your hands, hop to seated, and lie on your back. Drop your arms out to your sides. Spread the arms out and cross your right ankle over your left knee. Press your right knee away from you. And let your legs fall over to the left, but lengthen your tailbone out of your lower back so it doesn't get archy in your lower back. Keep the length of your low spine as you twist here. Try to keep your right shoulder down. And remember to breathe. Let your spine start to unwind. Bring your legs back up to center. Uncross your right leg and now cross your left ankle over your right knee. Keep your tailbone lengthened out of your lower back and keep your left shoulder, left side ribs down as you twist your legs over to the right. So feel the chest spread, the neck is relaxed and long. The tailbone lengthens out of the lower back. So as much as you're allowing your body to twist, you're encouraging the length throughout the twist. So this is a passive twist, but we still want the spine to feel long. Direct your breath to where you feel the stretch in your hips. Keep your left knee pressed away from you. So this is a variation where you're going to feel a little bit of a stretch in your hip if your hips are tighter. Bring your knees back to center. Uncross your ankle and hug your knees gently into your chest. Lift your head up to your knees. Roll yourself up to seated. Now sit with your legs crossed at the middle of the shins and start to crawl your fingers forward. So come into this flat back position. If you're not feeling much of a stretch, if you're very open in your hips, then you could take double pigeon pose where you cross your top ankle just on the outside of your bottom knee, which I've showed here across the left ankle, just on the outside of the right knee. So there I can feel my hips feel a real deep stretch. But if your hips are tighter, you might just be able to stretch forward with your legs crossed to the middle of the shins and feel a deep enough stretch. Feel your inner front buttock bones release down into the mat and anchor down. Feel the tops of your thighs release. And then from there, start to lengthen. Reach as far forward as you can, keeping your navel in. Let your head go. Walk your hands back towards you. Change the cross of your legs. So simple cross legs or ankle stacked on the outside of the knee, double pigeon, or fire log pose, Agni Asana. Put your fingertips in front of you and first try to get a flat back. So lengthen your spine. It's a preliminary and forward fold so you can get a flat back, long spine before you work on forward flexion. Then once you have that, if you have that, start to crawl the fingertips forward. If you can't get a long spine, a flat back, so if you try to sit up straight, it'd be better just to work on that length before you work on forward folding. It's one of Iyengar's suggestions in Light on Yoga. Let the inner front buttock bones release. Let the head drop. Feel the groins release, the upper inner thighs start to release towards the mat. Feel your breath balance out. So in these final postures, it's important that we're connecting to the breath. That smooth breath is going to help to prepare us for Shavasana. Inhale, come back up to seated. Stretch both legs straight out in front of you. Dandasana, stretch the arms forward, and now roll yourself down one vertebra at a time, all the way onto your back. Take your arms to your side, palms to face up, feet spread open. Adjust your shoulder blades down your back as you externally rotate your arms, and then move your buttock flesh out of your lower back. So your chest feels open, you don't feel crunchy in your low back. Give yourself at least 5 to 10 minutes. Thanks for practicing today. Keep up your practice. I'll see you next time.